Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Galactic Report. Today is Friday, 12th September 2025, and I am happy to be back with you all. Thank you for your patience and thank you for being subscribed to my channel. I also send out a very warm welcome to the new subscribers, and I look forward to doing another season of the Weekly Galactic Reports. As I said last time, I took some time to think about how I wanted to do the Galactic Reports from now on, and I have decided to talk about the time qualities at hand more than doing a reflection on what has happened galactically, technologically, maybe even astrologically, and rather stay in the energy of the moment. And I hope you like what I am preparing for you every week. And today we dive into the eclipse portal because we are now at the midpoint of the eclipse portal or eclipse season. And it is a field between the full moon lunar eclipse of early September 2025 and the solar eclipse at the equinox, which is going to be next week. So we are really in the midst of it all. And when we stand inside this passage, it is easier to sense the currents because time feels less linear and the doors to our memories and also our destiny, if we want to call it that, are wide open. This is, I feel, a threshold within thresholds and a time when the influence of both eclipses can be sensed most clearly. This happens throughout all eclipses. And as you know, we have 2 eclipse seasons every year. So this moment of time between eclipses is very, very meaningful for the next time ahead. The lunar eclipse on 7th September 2025 at 15 degrees Virgo and 15 degrees Pisces was really, really a powerful opening to our autumn eclipse season this year, because the sun was aligned with the Kuiper belt object Orcus, and Orcus is regarded as the guardian of vows and thresholds. Orcus represents the weight of our oaths, our ancestral promises, our soul contracts, our karmic agreements from this incarnations and many, many before. And most importantly, I think, personal codes of devotion. And this is what I want to talk about, because in Virgo, where Sun was at the lunar eclipse, this is about, on the one hand, precision and integrity, where our lives align with our deeper commitments and where old obligations, on the other hand, are ready to be released. The eclipse asked us to remember our vows, to recognize contracts that are still valid within us, and to release those that no longer belong to our present. And it also invited us to trust the deeper waters of change, because we had an alignment with fixed star Ahanar at the end of the celestial river Eridanus, which talks about completion after long journeys. So it feels like a homecoming and coming back to ourselves fully and to understand what we came here to do. Opposite the sun, with the moon in Pisces, another Kuiper belt object, Gong Gong, which is remembered as a great water being in Chinese cosmology, whose movement shifts rivers and even the heavens. Gong Gong suggested with moon in Pisces that changes come like tides and a reorientation that unfolds over time. Additionally to that, moon was also aligned with the fixed stars Fomalhaut, one of the royal stars linked with our mystic vision, and Deneb Adige in Cygnus constellation, the swan, associated with perspective and grace. And again, as I talked before, Achernar at the end of the celestial river Eridanus. So I feel like this lunar eclipse was an eclipse of healing. Virgo is associated to physical healing and service, and Pisces is about soul healing, compassion, and release. So together, they reminded us of our contracts with Earth herself. As starseeds, we came here by invitation of the Earth, pledging to support her in the great ascension from 3D and 4D into 5D and 6D. So the reflection around the lunar eclipse is, do we still honor those vows? And do we place ourselves in service of creation fully? And as the eclipse was so watery in its energy, Gong Gong as the ancient water being, Fomalhaut, the mystic star, Deneb Adige in the swan constellation, Achernar at the end of the river Eridanus, I feel like the waters invited us to release, to surrender, and the remembrance of why we came here on this celestial river. So, where in your life do you feel the waters of healing moving through you now? Physical, emotional, soul level? These are questions that are still valid, although we are already moving towards the solar eclipse on 21st September. This will take place at 29 degrees Virgo, at the threshold of Libra, aligned with the South Node. This is at the anaretic degree, the final and critical point of a sign. At 29 degrees Virgo, we face the culmination of Virgo's path of discernment, service, and refinement. It is a moment of urgency too, because we are called to complete what is unfinished. And because it falls just before the entrance into Libra, this eclipse also foreshadows a transition, not only from the dedication to healing and order in Virgo, and into the realm of Libra, balance, relation, and harmony. It is more about what the lunar eclipse already began, the themes of healing, vows, and our service to Earth. And at the same time, we are invited by Libra to put on the scales the way of our relationships and agreements and ask, what has still value in my life and what needs to go? And Orcus, of course, is still present, and he reminds us of our vows and soul contracts another time. And the question again is, which contracts, whether ancestral, karmic, or personal, are you ready to rededicate and which must be released fully now in order to step into our service of creation to Earth. At the foundation of this eclipse, at the IC, the Imum Thöli, or the depths of the heavens in our chart, we find Varuna, another Kuiper belt object. And it is remembered in Vedic tradition as the guardian of cosmic order and moral law. So Varuna anchors us in alignment with Source and asks us to embody integrity and responsibility. Varuna also reminds us of our lives that are rooted in the sacred law of Mother Earth. And there is another very potent energy coming into this solar eclipse, because close to the eclipse point is the supergalactic center at 2 degrees Libra. The supergalactic center is supposed to be a supermassive black hole. It's also known as Messier Object 87, and it draws more than 30 galaxies, including our own beautiful Milky Way galaxy, towards its gravitational core. Astrologically, the supergalactic center represents the source of source, a hologram of infinite truth. It is both creator and dissolver, and when it's activated, it invites us to experience unconditional love as our true center. This eclipse near the supergalactic center, or vice versa, reminds us that the deepest connection is within, and that our creativity, our relationships, and our service must be rooted in this inner source. So we might be asked, where are we feeling that pull back to source, that sense that everything is ultimately returning to love? And last but not least, this solar eclipse is also defined by a remarkable geometrical pattern in the sky, the golden triangle. The sun and moon at 29 Virgo connect with Pluto at 1 degree Aquarius and Uranus at 1 degree Gemini. And they are forming a grand triangle completed by Neptune at 0 degrees Aries and Saturn at 28 degrees Pisces. This is why I call it golden. It brings, on one hand, stability and vision and breakthrough potential on the other side, because Pluto provides us with depth and transformation. Uranus sparks awakening in a grand scale, and Neptune dissolves all illusions into vision, and Saturn gives grounding and structure to it all. The golden triangle will guide us through the second half of the year and far into 2026. And I will talk more about it for sure, because it supports both collective and individual healing, but also expansion and a futuristic movement towards our spiritual foundation for the years ahead. How ready are you to grow up into your next level of maturity, to step into a new dimension of being human? This is basically the question that this triangle is going to ask us over and over again, because this triangle opens horizons beyond the personal. It points us toward our galactic and even cosmic future, toward a civilization slowly remembering its star families, slowly entering into new relationships, long forgotten, and now they are ready to return. If we dare to wake up, and if we dare to grow up. So when we weave these eclipses together, we see a story that unfolds. These two eclipses form a passage. The lunar eclipse opened the threshold, and the solar eclipse seals it and plants the seed of what comes next. Their influence will continue until the spring of 2026, until the next eclipse season, and with Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus so strongly engaged, I think the imprint will last longer still. So this eclipse is a turning point in our year of renewal and healing. Allow this eclipse season to be a passage of completion and seeding, of remembrance and creation. As I said, the lunar eclipse opened us to our work of healing, physical, emotional, and planetary, and reminded us of our vows with Earth. And the solar eclipse brings that healing to a critical point at 29 degrees Virgo, and then asks us to decide in Libra what remains of value and what must be released. The supergalactic center pulls us into our source consciousness, into what we already know, into unconditional love. We just have to remember it. And the golden triangle opens the path forward, a path of transformation, awakening, vision, and maturity into our future selves. So what can we do now? We can return to our vows with Earth. We can honor water in ceremony. We can tend to our bodies and emotions with compassion. And we can decide what contracts are complete and what remain in our lives. We can set intentions at the equinox, because there we can balance and renew our connection with cosmic and earthly cycles. And I warmly invite you to join me on 20th September at 8 p.m. CET for our equinox celebration. Together, we will anchor the gifts of the eclipse season and step into the balance of light and dark, ready for the golden future that lies before us. So may this eclipse season be a passage of healing, remembrance, and renewal for you all. Thank you, everybody, and I see you next week. Bye-bye.